This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Many educators, academics, and scholars have discussed whether compulsory school uniforms should be worn. Given all the perspectives on this question formed over time, two polar views can be identified as the main ones. Thus, on the one hand, mandatory uniforms are believed to be a highly advantageous standard to implement at schools. On the other hand, many people consider them pointless and, to some extent, even disruptive to students' academic performance and personal self-expression. It is also important to note that there is a significant difference between the concepts of a dress code and a mandatory uniform. While dress codes state what should not be worn, uniform policies state what must be worn. This essay will present arguments for and against mandatory school uniforms and aim to achieve a compromise between these polar views. Several relatively similar arguments usually justify the implementation of mandatory school uniform policies. First, school uniforms are believed to help ensure that there are no class barriers between the students. Wearing the same uniform limits students' ability to demonstrate economic advantage. Another argument is based on the fact that fewer differences in students' appearance lead to increased focus in the classroom, as students are not distracted by the brands, colors, and other clothing choices of their classmates. Finally, school uniforms are believed by some to have a positive effect on students' sense of community, increasing the perceptions related to academic proficiency. Those who consider school uniforms as a disadvantage of the modern education system also present a number of convincing arguments. First, they claim that school uniforms do not permanently eliminate class barriers because they are often expensive, and many students' parents cannot afford to buy uniforms with specific logos, embroidery, and accessories required by schools. As a result, mandatory school uniforms can financially strain lower-income families. Another argument often used by the opponents of school uniforms is that no studies have made reliable claims on the connection between school uniforms and successful academic performance. Finally, opponents of school uniforms claim that the sense of community that is believed to be an advantage is imposed on students and borders on some form of extreme uniformity. This, in turn, can limit students' freedom of self-expression, which is a significant drawback. Despite the differences between these viewpoints, common ground can still be found. For instance, both points consider academic performance a critical aspect. In addition, both of them seem to take into account students' possible financial limitations. As a result, one of the possible solutions that can be suggested to address the concerns of both sides is introducing dress code policies instead of mandatory uniform rules or complete freedom of clothing choices. These dress codes can involve a set of rules that are unanimously considered necessary for school children to follow. For example, clothes should not display inappropriate pictures and writings, and they should not expose body parts that are considered inappropriate, such as the front and back midsection. Given that the opposing points presented above have a number of similar objectives, it can be concluded that the compromise on the issue of mandatory uniforms at schools is establishing dress codes. While limiting some inappropriate clothing choices that students can make, this solution would still provide them with self-expression opportunities. In addition, it will increase the variety of options for families with financial challenges who are unable to afford one type of special-ordered uniform. If you want to find more works like this essay on mandatory school uniforms, pros and cons, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of free samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects. No registration required to access it.